Is there a better way? Problems demand solutions, but how do we find solutions when we're not even sure what the problems are? Our world is full of wicked problems, many of which you've heard about today. Problems like an aging population, climate change, hunger, poverty, and rising healthcare costs, just to name a few. These wicked problems don't have a single or obvious solution, and they can't be tackled in the traditional sequential steps of linear problem solving. Yet, we spend so much of our time teaching you how to solve linear problems. We have often taught you to memorize facts, to temporarily retain knowledge, and to regurgitate it for a test. But what happens when that knowledge is useless or out of date by the time that you graduate? And what happens when many of the problems you're faced with today have no clearly defined path or solution? Do you have the tools you'll need to be successful in the future? But we're not done. We still have to add an additional layer of complexity to the work environment of the future. The rapidly increasing flow of information you're being bombarded with. You are drowning in a fire hose of information each and every day, and the pace of that flow is increasing exponentially. It is something you or no one before you has ever experienced. The skills most of you are taught in school are not the skills you'll need to survive and to thrive in this new world of information overload. How do we prepare ourselves for something that we've never experienced before, and how do we gain the skills to succeed in this world of change? How do we learn to adapt, to be creative, and to persevere? The good news is that I do believe there's a segment of the population that uses these skills of adaptability, creative problem solving, and dogged determination each and every day in the work that they do. These are the entrepreneurs, the opportunity seekers, and the impresarios of the business world. These are the people driving innovation, creating jobs, and following their passions, all while making a difference. They're looking outward to see what people need, discovering new ways of doing things, and cutting a path to create a clear vision through the forest of uncertainty that many of us just get lost in. They don't accept the word impossible, and they don't acknowledge failure. Maybe, just maybe, we can learn from them. Isn't this ability to deal with uncertainty, to explore creative options, and to adapt to change just what an entrepreneur does each and every day? Can we be taught to think like an entrepreneur? Should we move entrepreneurship out of the halls of the business schools? And should we give students across all disciplines the opportunity to learn some of these entrepreneurial skills? So I ask you, is there a better way? In the next few minutes, I hope you will consider how we prepare our students to function in this world of change. Together, we'll explore how giving students an opportunity to experience entrepreneurship may be the very best way to give them some of the skills that they need to not just survive, but to thrive and excel. Much of what you know today is out of date just 2 or 3 years from now. What does that mean to how we learn and work in the future? And have you ever considered the speed of this change? Does it excite you, or does it scare you? Yes, change has always occurred, and it will continue to do so. Yet now the flow of information is coming at you at an ever faster pace. And let me give you a little example. Let's look at the smartphone for a second, and let's go on a little journey together back in time. I want you to just think about the awesome power of that device that's in your pocket. Do you remember a time when we waited for the mailman and rushed to the street to see what he had brought us? Do you remember the pile of photo albums on your dining room table? Do you remember wearing a watch because you needed it to tell time, not just as a fashion accessory? Do you remember carrying a camera with you if you wanted to take a picture? Or do you remember a bookshelf full of books, or going on vacation with that extra suitcase just to carry the books with you that you wanted to read? Do you remember having to sign onto your computer to access the internet, or shelves full of albums and 8-tracks and CDs, or having to go to the store and rent a DVD if you wanted to watch a movie? Some of you may remember calling the weather number to see what the weather was going to be tomorrow or for the weekend. Some of you may even remember paper maps stuffed in the glove box of your car, or carrying around that big fat planner to keep track of all your appointments. or going to the record store to actually have to buy your music? Or do you remember having to actually use a phone that was plugged into the wall? Or wanting to play a game and having to go to the box, to the basement, and get the box off the shelf in order to play the game that you want to do? Or do any of you remember when you couldn't instantly text someone a note or comment? Think about that. I could fill this entire stage 3 foot deep with everything that your smartphone has replaced. You carry that entire list and much, much more around with you in your pocket each and every day. And this technology was just brought to the mass market in late 2006, early 2007. So let me give you a few more examples of rapidly increasing change that this flow of information is causing. Many of us were first introduced to this concept of change by a video series titled Did You Know? And I'm sure some of you have seen it. This was originally started out as a PowerPoint by Carl Fitch for a faculty meeting in August of 2006. Carl wanted to bring to the attention of the people the potential inadequacy of our education system to handle the change that was happening. The presentation went viral, and tens of millions of people have seen it up to this time. There's been many very different adaptations of it, and I want to share a few examples from that with you today and from some others. The first is jobs. It's estimated that today's learner will have 10 to 14 jobs by the age of 38. I think it's safe to say to you that teaching you specific skills for a single job is largely over. You will have to be adaptable and comfortable with change just to survive in this brand new world. We're asking our students to be superheroes. Listen to the picture that Shift Happens series paints and think about the consequences and opportunities that this presents. The top 10 jobs in 2010 did not even exist in 2004. We're currently preparing our students for jobs that don't even exist, using technologies that haven't been invented in order to solve problems we don't even know are problems yet. So I ask you, how does teaching our students to memorize information for a test help them in this new world of almost constant change? And let's look at social media for a second. Social media is accelerating exponentially. There are well over 100 billion Google searches per month right now. Twitter is seeing 15 billion tweets per month, which is 500 million tweets per day, 6,000 tweets per second, and they just celebrated their 7th birthday. There's more than 1 billion active Facebook users and over 250 million Skype sessions every single month. And text messages. There are over 125 billion text messages sent every month in the United States alone. And think about this, 20 years ago, text messaging didn't even exist. All of these numbers are increasing at an exponential rate, or these technologies are already being replaced by new and emerging technologies and other competition. We are drowning in information. It's estimated that a week worth of news in the New York Times today contains more information than an individual would come across in a lifetime in the 18th century. We'll generate more information this year alone than we did in the previous 5,000 years combined. And let's look at books and publishing for a second. In 1907, there were 9,300 books published approximately. In 2003 in the US, 300,000 books. In 2011, 3 million books. In 2013, there's some talk that we could have up to 12 to 15 million books published in the United States alone. Google estimated in August of 2010 that there were about 130 million books in existence. What this really means is that the total number of books that could be published in 2013 is nearly 1/10 of all the books in existence. An unbelievably increasing flow of information. And how will this impact how we learn? And we're not quite done. In nearly 15 years, half of the US universities will be in bankruptcy. Or so says a Harvard Business School professor. If he is right, will we be ready? Traditional education is being disrupted. What has worked in the past may not work in this new world of increasing information. What are we doing wrong, and how and where will our students learn? And we heard a lot about healthcare today. Healthcare is entering a period of explosive transformation. In Peter Diamandis' book, Abundance, he talks about how much health has improved over the centuries and what's in store for us. And it's a book that looks positively at change. I'd recommend that you all read it. Life expectancy is increasing, but a world of work is left to be done. We still need to find new ways to improve the quality of life for increasingly long-lived population. And he goes on to describe the incredible technological advances that are happening in healthcare today. Things like robotic surgery, using a surgical robot called the Da Vinci Surgical System, which you'll see advertised on billboards today, or 3D printing of human organs, and telemedicine and personalized medicine. These are all becoming mainstream. Why is all this information important, and why did I tell you about that? Because what I want to talk about for a second are two types of problems. There's two types of problems that we're faced with in the world to solve every day. Those are linear problems and nonlinear problems. The first, linear problems, are of a more programmed nature, and their solutions are based on a rigorous training that you gather in school through experience, through analytical skills, and the knowledge of rules and procedures pre-designed to handle like or similar situations. Think about a math problem or a process or a procedure or putting something together. We are largely taught to solve linear problems in school. There's a second group of problems, though, that are called non-programmed or nonlinear problems. I first came to understand the details of these problems from Min Bassiter of Bassiter Creativity. He introduced me to the concepts of fuzzy situation and the need for creative problem solving, but he gave it to me in the language of business, which finally made sense to me. The second group of problems is typically less structured, unpredictable, and ambiguous as to just what is wanted. They require creative problem-solving skills that most of us have never been taught. The main challenge is to discover and define what the real problem is, because nobody really knows how to solve them. And to solve them, to even begin to solve them, requires a unique combination of not only knowledge, but of knowledge, imagination, and evaluation. Interestingly enough, this describes many of the problems that we talked about today. The reason this is important is the faster our world changes, the more problems we experience that are non-programmed or non-linear. And that happens because we outpace our store of knowledge and of experience. In this world of change that we just explored together, what will success look like? Success will be in being adaptable, in innovating, in anticipating new problems, and proactively seeking new ways of doing things. That's exactly what entrepreneurs excel at. They have the tools and the mindset to be persistent, adaptive, and innovative. They find opportunity where the rest of us see problems. They discover new ways of doing things. They morph and change the way they think about what is even possible. So my question today is, might we all benefit from being given opportunity to learn how to be entrepreneurial? Might we all benefit from having a little bit of entrepreneurial thinking instilled in us? So it's time for change. For some of you, this sounds a little bit scary. You might even be saying, but Tom, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. And I'm not suggesting we should turn you all into entrepreneurs. But what I am suggesting is that entrepreneurs are people that deal with this uncertainty well. They thrive in our rapidly changing world. Will we all need to embrace the concepts of entrepreneurial thinking to be successful in the future? Yes, I think we will. And we can morph our education system in a way that gives students the opportunity to learn about these concepts from a very, very early age. So I ask you, when were any of you last taught or given the opportunity to learn about things like courage and determination and persistence and stick-to-itiveness, or how to evaluate risk, or how to deal with uncertainty, or how to be creative and how to be adaptable? The answer is you probably don't remember. Unfortunately, many people don't think we can teach you these things. But how do we even know if you have any of these skills when GMATs and SATs don't measure these traits? but we make all of our decisions on these types of tests. Can entrepreneurship be learned? How might we teach it? And again, I ask you, is there a better way? Could we all benefit from a little injection of entrepreneurial DNA? Yes, I'm going to say today I think we can. The good news is that it doesn't require any needles or special science because it can be learned. We know that entrepreneurship can be learned, and we know that entrepreneurs don't just come out of the womb with these traits. They learn them through experience, through apprenticeship, and through gathering what Dr. Spinelli refers to as 50,000 chunks of experience. They learn them from entrepreneurial parent, from mowing the grass, from making lemonade stands, from sports, from art, from music, and from the examples of others. They learn by experiencing and doing. They learn to turn problems into opportunities by having the opportunity to observe and practice. So how do we teach it? We don't, because we can't. We let you experience it. It's the only way. Studying entrepreneurship without doing it is like studying the appreciation of music without listening to it. When and where do we start? We start as early as possible, and we continue the thread of entrepreneurial teaching throughout your educational career, regardless of your field of study, because I believe these are skills that each and every one of you can learn. So I'd ask you this. Can we ask our educators to do a few things for us? Dear educators, can we embrace pracademics, at least for part of my education? We don't want to forgo academics, but can we add a piece that we might call pracademics, a time where we can learn about the practical and real world that we live in? Can you let me explore and have the opportunity to figure out what fuels my passion and spend time in those areas? Can you teach me about persistence and dogged determination? Can you let me try and fail, and try and fail, and try and fail, and try and fail again, again, and again? Because that's how we learn. And isn't that an interesting concept in this land of everybody wins and helicopter parents watching our every move? Can you help me experience creative problem solving? Put me in situations where I can learn the skills to identify and solve problems? And can you teach me about adaptability? Can you help me become a fierce communicator to learn to speak well in front of people? Can you encourage me to find new ways of doing things? Can you give me internships? Can you let me run a store? Can you let entrepreneurship matter, not just for those other people? So let me leave you with these thoughts. Is there a better way? Now it's time for all of you to make a decision. We can continue what has worked for decades and slowly watch our students become irrelevant, or we can find a better way. Exponential times require transformational change, and that change can come if each of us will take just a minute of time to embrace the principles of entrepreneurial thinking, to encourage our educators to embrace it, to give our children opportunities to experience it, and to take the time to mentor someone in that thought process. So I will say to you today, yes, there is a better way, and it begins with all of you. Thank you.